Hello again, everybody. Welcome to the ChiCitySports 2020 NBA Draft Night, the Big Red Bus Edition. I'm your host, C. Red Fred. Tonight, as we celebrate the final piece, the final acquisition, as we form the Red Leviathan, 3 years in the making. What a great night this will be. And with me is the Podfather, my co-pilot, the legendary Doug Thonus, the great one. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. I'm going to have to disagree with the final piece. I think this is going to be the first piece of what we see as a new Bulls era, and I think pretty much everyone on this roster is going to be gone within 2 years. But I'm excited for the draft and to see what they do. And I'm excited not to have any idea. This is got to be the first draft in a long time where you have legitimately no clue what's happening. Are the Bulls trading up? Are they trading down? Are they staying pat? If they stay pat, who are they taking? No clue, nothing.
So as you may have already surmised, I am the eternal optimist, and Doug is the eternal pessimist as we move forward in this evening. I think we're a lot closer to where we need to be than Doug does. I think the last few years have been just the amount of injuries, the sheer amount of injuries, just absolutely debilitating injuries to this team has really, I think, lessened the actual potential for what we can be, which I think is a very good team. Obviously, the head coach was a complete moron. That also didn't help. But overall, with going forward with Billy Donovan as our head coach, I think there are great things to come. I think we're a lot closer to where we need to be than many realize. I know you disagree, Doug, but let's get a little bit into the draft right now. Right now, who's your number one on the big board?
The number one, even though I kind of want to stick James Wiseman there, I'm gonna go with Anthony Edwards. I think just those two guys to me are in a tier above everyone else. So maybe I spoiled your next question, which is who's number two. But I look at those two guys and I clump them together because I can say the same thing, which is just they're athletically fit for their position, their size is fit for their position, their current skill set is fit for their position. I'm not banking on these guys learning or doing something new in order to become a great player at their position. Maybe with Edwards, a little bit of learning to take better shots, better shot selection. But that's kind of these guys are ready to roll, and I think will make an immediate impact. So I like them, and they have the athletic packages to have high upside. And so those are my 1 and 2.
Yeah, what I'm pretty excited about, I'd have Edwards as my number one player I have right now is Isaac Okoro. So I know I'm pretty much alone in that assessment. There's very few people who have him that high, as far as I know. I think Isaac Okoro at 6'6", 225. He's built made of steel. I call him the Giannis Buster. He can guard anybody in this league. He's the best perimeter defender in this draft. If you drop him onto the Bulls, I think that 5, Kobe White at the point guard position, Zach LaVine at the 2 guard, Okoro at the 3, Larry Markkinen at the 4, and then Wendell Carter Jr. at the 5, will form a starting 5 that I think in 3 or 4 years will be able to be a real contender in the Eastern Conference. I mean, we'll see where it goes tonight. I don't think Okoro is going to be the 4th overall pick. Most mock drafts have him picked anywhere from 6 to 10. But I think to me, he's going to be the best player in this draft. So Edwards is right behind him.
You have Okoro over Anthony Edwards. Because, all that athletic stuff, you could say the same about Edwards, except you can also add that he has an offensive game. Okoro definitely is more focused on the defensive end of the ball. Skill-wise, he's miles ahead of where Edwards is defensively. But athletically, I think Edwards is the same package. And I think it's much easier to learn defense. I think that's a lot of effort and coaching than it is to learn offense, which is a lot of fast twitch muscle work that I just don't think comes quickly. So, those two guys are both tremendous athletes and have great size for their position. I think Edwards' strengths are going to be much harder for Okoro to pick up than the other way around. Now, granted, if Edwards isn't playing defense like a dog now, then is he going to later? Maybe not.
Yeah, Edwards is a young kid. It's really hard. I watched a ton of tape on Edwards. By far, I thought the most impressive video I saw of any of these players was the second half of Anthony Edwards. I think he had 33 points against Michigan State. That was the best video I saw. The problem with Edwards is he doesn't have a very high motor, at least to me, compared to Isaac Okoro. I think that's something that's hard to teach. Do you play hard all the time? Do you get out there and want it? Are you a winner? Edwards, no doubt about it, he's a more skilled player. I think he's probably arguably the most skilled offensive player in this draft. But I didn't see the motor all the time. It was kind of on and off. I just feel more comfortable about Isaac Okoro hitting his ceiling, which I think is very high, just with that motor. It's going to be fascinating to see. I know a lot of people said this draft is a pretty poor draft. I kind of disagree. The more I've gone into it, I think there's going to be several difference makers, several all-stars in this draft. Obi Toppin, Isaac Okoro. I love Anthony Edwards. I do love. LaMelo Ball. I mean, who knows, right? I mean, there's a lot to love and a lot not to. But this is a pretty deep draft. I know you also like the point guard. Who's the point guard that you're a big fan of?
Lewis Jr.
Yes.
Lewis Jr. is my
Extremely
boy.
fast. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Probably will go in the top 20, but it's entirely possible that this draft could be like the one where Giannis was picked at 15.
I would say with this draft, in most drafts, people value the strength of the draft by how many completely known prospects there are at the top of the draft. Yeah. And in this draft, there's not a lot of that. And so I think that is why people view it as a weak draft. Depth-wise, I don't know that it really is any worse when you go like 4 to 20 than the next draft. But like at the top 3 without having that certainty, that's why people kind of get this weak draft, no sure stars.
Yeah, we got our first guest of the evening. First of all, Steven Johnson of ChiCitySports doing a fantastic job tonight. Special thanks to Steven. We have Tim Gallagher, who's going to be joining us. Tim Gallagher's a basketball historian from the West Coast. I've never met a man who knows more about the game. The combined brain power between Doug Thonus and Tim Gallagher here could probably light up several suburbs in Chicago. So it's amazing the intellectual capabilities of these two guys. But Tim, it's awesome to see you, brother. I haven't seen you in a while. Look at the hair. You're looking great, my man. I haven't seen you with the gray. That came in pretty quick.
Yeah,
was it the last bull season that did it? Tell me.
I think so. But yeah, great to join you guys. How's it going, Doug? And exciting night in the NBA. My body clock though is still out of sync, right? What time of the year is this? And we're having the draft now, and the season's starting in a couple weeks. So yeah, it's just a lot to get my mind around.
So Tim is locked in, and you're calling from Southern California, right? That's where I know where you live, outside San Diego, correct?
Yep, I'm still in the office. Sorry, I don't have a better basketball motif behind me. I think it's a vintage Honus Wagner card on the wall here, but I've got a Jerry West portrait kind of staring down at me, so we'll get some basketball karma from the logo.
Well, Tim is locked in with many NBA royalty. Actually, I think you were involved also too in the tryouts or practices for Kawhi Leonard. I mean, it goes on and on. The list of players that you've met, you've talked to, that you've had interactions with is long and vast. And there's few people I respect more in terms of talent evaluation. So I'd love to go right away to you with your top 7 picks in this draft. Why don't we start from 7 to 1?
Sure. Start at 7. Okay. Let me flip that a little bit, but I'm kind of in the opposite of you. I've got a Okoro at 7. So,
okay.
I do like his versatility and athleticism, and just, definitely looks the part of today's NBA kind of player. Mm-hmm. At 6, I've got Denny Avdija from Israel. And, I kind of see him as a upside of like potentially Gallinari or Bojan Bogdanovic type of a player. I kind of like the Euros, and the trend is more favorable to those guys now, and I guess we can thank Luka for that. But I'm intrigued by him, but not as a top 4 pick.
Hey Tim, what do you think, Tony Kukoc? Tony Kukoc is a comparison for Avdija.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, I could see that somewhat. I don't think he has quite the length, but he seems versatile and seems to run the floor well. At 5, I'm probably in the minority here, but I've got Edwards at 5, which,
oh wow,
my take on him is that if he was so good, why wasn't Georgia better, right? And I understand there's a lot of variables that play into that. It's coaching, it's what teammates he has. SEC is a very tough schedule, game in and game out, but just not that he doesn't have talent, but a guy like him, is he going to be Dwayne Wade or is he going to be Ben McLemore, right? I still haven't quite, found the scale of that just yet, and where he fits on that.
So let me stop you right there, Tim, because that's a warning sign right away. Tim has been very good at picking out busts. He's the only guy I knew who did not have Markelle Fultz in his top. I don't think he had him in his top 10. Is that right? Back in that draft, I remember talking with you, but it wasn't top 5. He definitely wasn't number 1. Remember Markelle Fultz?
I was not high on Fultz for sure. There's probably some others that we could use as reference points, but
that's right.
But anyway,
sorry to interrupt.
I've got Edwards at 5, and and kind of using that same range of comparison, right? You see a guy like Wiseman, and so the body of work wasn't really there, right? Just a few games for Memphis. I see the talent, I see the length, but again, is he David Robinson or is he Greg Monroe? Right? Where does he fit on that scale? And I'm not feeling it's toward the David Robinson end of that scale. But obviously an intriguing prospect because of his size and talent. So I have him at 4. At 3, I've got LaMelo Ball, and intrigued by the fact that he's now 6'8". I've seen him play since he was a sophomore in high school, actually a freshman in high school in person, being out here in Southern California. So you can probably figure out who the other 2 I have ahead of him are, and his old high school teammate, Ogonkwo from USC. They played on the same high school team, amazingly. And again, how often are high school teammates going to be, lottery picks, if not, much higher on the scale, probably top 7 or 8 picks at least. But LaMelo, I still understand the jury being out just because of all the baggage that comes with him. But obviously his father's kind of stayed more in the background now. The fact that LaMelo's grown to 6'8" is what he's listed now. And long before he was 6'8", I saw him play against very high-level competition. His court vision is basically unmatched. His teammates love playing with him. I guess my concern with a guy like him is he going to be able to consistently shoot the ball. His brother Lonzo hasn't really shown that, obviously, and and I was probably a little wrong on my pick with him, although I still haven't given up hope, and he's shown some improvement. But I think because of LaMelo's size and length, court vision, the concern I have with him is, and it kind of fits with a lot of these young players, is kind of the, I guess call it the AAU mentality, right? Where are they going to play hard every play, right? Because they've kind of been conditioned to play in these weekend tournaments where you're playing 3 or 4 games a day, and you lose, you got another game in 2 hours. So, the intensity and focus on each possession on each end of the court, I just don't know if that's in him, right? I mean, can he be coached into that? Probably, but that's my concern with him. Not that the talent's not there. It's what's the possession by possession focus that he can bring. And then just to wrap up, my number 2 guy is Ogonkwo, who I see him as a Bam Adebayo clone, and obviously Adebayo blew up, especially in the bubble, and people showed how he can contribute to a team, and I see Ogonkwo at that level for sure, right? And in terms of size, athleticism, mobility, versatility, he can play with other really good players. He obviously, when you're playing with the Ball brothers, you're not going to be the focal point, right? So, so he's shown that he can play, with other really good players and fit in. Or, the other thing that's interesting about him is after the Ball brothers were all gone from Chino Hills, they still won a state championship without all them, with Ogonkwo. So, doing that in California is no simple task, right? And then number 1, I've got Obi Toppin. Obviously, full disclosure, I grew up in Dayton, diehard Dayton Flyers fan my whole life. And, however,
this is a controversial pick, Tim. I got to tell you, I agree with you. I love Toppin. I think it's very unfair. I mean, there's definitely an ageism here. I think, Doug, you like Toppin too. I mean,
I like Toppin, but I'm always concerned about taking anyone who's 22 and trying to compare their achievements to someone who's 19. I mean, it's just like you grow a lot over those 3 years. And if he was 19, he'd be a no doubt obvious number one pick. At 22, he looks amazing. So, it's like those other guys who are 19, they have to prove they can do what he's already proving he can do. But, that is it makes me wonder how much more he has left to go in the tank. So, but I do like Toppin. I would not be disappointed if the Bulls took him.
Tim, I wanted to ask you.
I really hope he's there at 4.
Yeah. Yeah, I do too. Although I will admit, I don't think the Bulls are going to take him. I think he's either going to go to Cleveland at 5, and then I heard the Knicks love him. So the worst it will be, he'll go to the Knicks, and that would be, I will admit, not very enjoyable for me. Obviously I want to see Coach Tibbs fail horribly. But I do want to say one thing, Tim, going back to Ball. you're a basketball historian. Can you think of one situation where a player that poor defensively and that poor as a shooter that came together and combined into a great NBA player? Because I couldn't. No matter how good of a passer he is and how good of a vision he has, his defense is awful.
Right.
From what I see.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I can't come up with a name off the top of my head where someone that there's probably been some players, not many, but maybe they got drafted right out of high school and the team that picked them had the patience to help them develop into a significant NBA player, but probably not a star player, right? Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
a name that kind of comes to mind would be somebody like CJ Miles, right? Who's had a decent NBA career and, picked by the Jazz, and they kind of groomed him, and he had the right work ethic and focus and turned into a starter or definitely a key role player and played a long time, somebody like that, but somebody that became an all-star. And it's hard to come up with a name like that has those deficiencies.
I'm going to add a couple counterpoints.
One other quick.
Oh, Doug, hold on 1 second, Tim. Go ahead, Doug.
One is so my first counterpoint is Derrick Rose, whom I thought was not a good shooter and not probably as bad as LaMelo, but not a good shooter. And it was a very poor defender. And, he became a very strong mid-range shooter. And I thought in his third and fourth years became a pretty strong defender. Now, granted, Rose has a different athletic package. LaMelo has a lot of length and height, but not quite as much athleticism. And I agree those things are maybe scary things to try and worry about. The other thing I'd add about LaMelo, and I'm not a huge fan, so I feel weird defending him now, is that his passing, like there's not really many comparable people who have his ball handling and passing skills. So like there's not many people that have the strengths that he has to have any sample set of guys who had the same weaknesses and the same strengths. Like there's just not like prospects that fit the same mold. So when you're trying to find examples of similar guys, there just really aren't similar guys. He's just different. And he'll be the first LaMelo Ball, and we'll see how that works out for him. But I wouldn't be quite as scared away about not having a comparable, because there's not a lot of guys comparable coming in either.
Good points.
Right. One thing I'll say about LaMelo Ball, seeing him play in person, multiple times is, and I don't know how this translates to winning, which is a key point here, but the energy in the building when he's playing, there's something magical in the air when he's playing, and it's not something that, it's just there. Right. And I've gone to enough games over, 50 years as a fan. And, certainly that you get that buzz in the building or that energy, it's intangible, but it's there with, Jordan and Dr. J. And, I've been in the building when guys like that are there, and you feel that, and there's that buzz in the crowd, and LaMelo Ball creates that. Now, obviously that's really cool if you want to get people in the stands and have a big following, but is that going to translate to winning and going deep in the playoffs and winning championships? So that's a big unanswered question in my mind, and I guess we'll all find out soon.
Tim, one more question
on Onyeka Okongwu, who you had number 2. And, I watch him and I'm like, man, this guy's got some great strengths. And like a lot of guys in this draft, like you look at their strengths and there's so many there. The one thing I'm a little concerned about, maybe you could chat about this a bit, is I don't see him as a power forward because he doesn't really have a lot of offensive game outside of 5 feet. And, in the modern NBA, it's tough. You need your power forwards to be a little bit more perimeter focused than that. And then as a center, he's a little bit undersized. He definitely has the athleticism to make up for it, but I thought he got bullied a little bit in college sometimes. And I'm wondering about how you feel he'll fit, if you think he can be a 4, or if you think he's just going to be kind of a smaller center, but over time he's going to be able to build up the strength that he needs.
Right. Well, he's definitely an excellent athlete. And I have to say, I saw Adebayo play actually all the way back in high school at Adidas Nations out here in Southern Cal. And I would have never envisioned him, bringing the ball up the floor like he did for the Heat, some in the playoffs, and his overall versatility. But I think you're right, Doug, on some of the deficiencies in Okonkwu's game. I think he would have to be played, at least initially, the way the Heat uses Adebayo, where he's a smaller 5 and more of a finish at the rim kind of guy. You don't really see Adebayo shooting threes yet, but I'm guessing he's being groomed to do that. Pretty much every spot 1 through 5 in the league now really has to be able to shoot that ball from that distance, as crazy as it sounds. So
yeah,
I think he's got the potential, and he's still a really young guy. And when he played Chino Hills with the balls, he really wasn't. There was nothing ever run for him. It was all transition stuff or just clean up on offensive rebounds. So it was hard to really tell. I saw him play some for his club team as well, and again, he was usually playing on a very loaded team of guys. So in some cases like that, it's hard to really see what all a guy can do because they're kind of slotted. I heard there's an interesting podcast that I'd recommend to all the listeners. I sent it to Fred, where on the Rejecting the Screen podcast with Don McClain, and he works out a lot of players to get them ready for pre-draft. Obviously, things were different this year, but it's a really good recent interview with him where he talks about a lot of the things we're discussing now is how do you project and predict some of these guys. And he uses a lot of the Kentucky players as examples, right? Where you really didn't know, who would have known how good Tyler Hero was, or that Devin Booker, was going to be as good as he was. So sometimes they're kind of put into a role for their team, and it's hard to really tell. So I guess the point I'm getting to is I see a lot of talent and athleticism for Ogonkwo, and I'm guessing he can learn some of these things.
Tim, I can't thank you enough for jumping on, brother. This was great. We got a couple other guests coming on the show, but to start out with you and your just wealth of knowledge. It's always awesome talking to you. I can't wait till this pandemic is over so I can get out to Southern California and we can have another long discussion on some basketball history. It's always great to listen to you.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming. It's great to meet you, and love to see you again.
Yeah, absolutely. And great being back on with you guys. I've enjoyed some of our Bullseye podcast discussions through the years and great stuff. And just a last note, just some of my sources, let's just call them, hearing really good things about Arturas and how he's managing things in Chicago, the input he's soliciting from everyone. And I feel like the Bulls are in really good hands from what I'm hearing.
That is great to hear.
Great to hear. Thanks, Tim. Always good to talk to you, brother.
Okay.
Have a good one. Have a safe trip home.
Yeah, guys, enjoy the draft, and it'll be very exciting to see how it plays out, especially what happens at number 4.
All right, brother. Thanks, man. Have a good one, Tim.
Okay, take care.
So, hey, Stephen, we're going to have everybody. I can see, first of all the comments on the side. Thanks, everybody, for jumping on. Want to see your comments. I'm reading a lot of these, and I don't know how I can't seem to post a comment. I would be happy to post one, but I just don't know how to do it. So probably something I should have addressed before the show. I hope to figure it out sometime during this show, Stephen, if you could send me a couple of links how to do it. But I'm reading a lot of this stuff. Let's talk about one topic because I think it needs to be talked about a little bit. I'm hearing that the Bulls potentially will be trading down. And if they do, they would go to Detroit at 7, potentially the Knicks at 8. Doug, are you for that move? Are you a big enough fan of one of these top 5 prospects that you're like, I don't even want to go back to 7? I would like to go to 7 just because of my mantra. It would really, kind of complete it. 7 picks, 7 picks. We all know the story. But what say you? Are you a fan of moving down to collect additional picks?
First, I have to shout out all of Real GM who showed up and are on the comments. Everyone out there that they asked for it. But man, thank you everyone there for coming. Love all you guys, and all you guys who are at the draft party normally with Fred and myself, and couldn't do it this year. And next year it'll be amazing to have it back. Now, with that said, I would absolutely trade down. On my board, and we will talk about our boards later, like 1 to 10. But I think basically after 3, and I'm maybe kind of a little bit of groupthink. I have the same kind of big 3. I didn't go way out like Tim did, who had all kinds of more insight. But with the big 3 gone, I kind of feel like the next 6 guys are about the same. So Detroit just traded for the 16th pick in the draft. If they were to offer us 7 and 16 for number 4, I would definitely take that trade.
What was it? Do you have the details on that trade?
They traded a future first-round pick that is top 16 protected for 4 years, then top 10 protected for 2 years, and they took Trevor Ariza's contract on, and they got the 16th pick in the draft.
Wow. So they're basically taking on a bad deal.
Yeah, but that deal is not fully guaranteed, and they can get out of it without a whole lot of money. So I would absolutely take that trade. I mean, they'll give up a future pick that'll probably be similar in caliber to this one, depending on how you feel about the middle of this draft. I will say that once we get to 16, I start losing a little bit of my knowledge of the prospects. I really only prepped up to 15. Oh. As everyone knows, I'm not a huge college basketball guy, so I'm only looking at the guys like somewhere in the Bulls vicinity. But I still would absolutely trade down like with something like that. But you got to get something like that. You got to get something good. I wouldn't just trade down for the heck of it. But yeah, if we can get something, yeah.
Yeah, let's be clear. We're stopping, and probably within 20, 30 minutes after the Bulls pick. I've got no time to go down past 12. I've studied all the players picked at 12. I could care less what Ainge takes with his measly, remaining 3 first rounders. That guy could pound sand. I don't want anything to do with those picks. I'm so glad the Celtics with all their picks are going to produce at best a team that gets whipped in the Eastern Conference Finals.
What I will be certain of is after the Celtics pick 3 years from now, Danny Ainge will have a note about how he tried to trade up all 3 of his picks for whoever ended up being the best guy in the draft.
That's exactly right.
This is going to be a 2023 article in the Boston Globe about how Danny Ainge attempted to trade up for whoever ends up being the best. But his minions quite have enough to do.
Yeah, and his minions in the press will repeat it ad nauseum about how Danny wanted to do this, Danny wanted to do that. He wanted Jimmy Butler. He really did, even though he had a pick 4 ahead of him that he took a bust with. Yeah, I love that stuff. That's great. Mark K from Australia, our longtime friend and bus rider of the Big Red Bus. First of all, a couple other things. Again, thanks everybody who jumped on. Feel free to put your comments in the chat. We're about ready to start in 2 minutes. So we're going to also bring in Mark K, our good friend from Australia. I hope he has the link. And Mark, if you're listening, look at your direct DM. I just sent you the link. So we want to bring you in and we'll have a good conversation. Mark's a big fan of Denny Average, and Denny Average is a player that's pretty polarizing. There's me on one side and there's everybody else on the other. I've never seen a player this, I think, limited, just to put it mildly, as an offensive player, get talked about for a top 5 pick. I think Luka, if Luka didn't exist, I don't think this guy would be anywhere near the top 5.
So you're totally wrong. I mean,
okay.
He's the MVP of the Israeli League, which is a higher level of competition than the NCAA.
Okay.
And so, immediately, if you're just saying a 19-year-old was MVP of whatever the NCAA, I guess I don't know what the exact equivalent was, but player of the year or whatever the best conference was, and you said, "Oh, this guy sucks at 19." That's what you're saying.
I didn't say he sucks. I didn't say he sucks.
The stronger league in the NCAA, and he was the MVP of it and won the championship. Competes hard. He's a winner. He's going to be. He does live everything. You think he's lousy defensively because you got white bias. And just figure the dude's unathletic, even though he's not.
I don't have white bias. I watch with my eyes. He's a tweener.
He's going to get steals. He's going to get blocks. He's going to be solid defensively. Not amazing, but he'll be solid. And he's going to be able to put the ball on the floor. He's going to score. He's going to be able to do everything. I don't think he's going to be a super stud, but I think he's going to be a very solid, above average starting caliber player. I think he's a safe pick. Similar to me, like Tyrese Halliburton. Is a very safe pick, but I question his upside. I feel a little bit the same about Denny. I don't know, when we talk about comparables, how high of the comparables is for him. I mentioned Tony Kukoc is the best guy I can think of that I feel kind of plays similarly sized, passes the ball really well, has got a decent set of skills. I think Denny probably will be a little better defender than Tony was. But, and as much as we love Tony Kukoc as Bulls guys, Tony wasn't an all-star. He wasn't a superstar. He was a really, really good player, but he was
pretty close. 6 man of the year.
He was kind of that next level below all-star, and I think that's kind of where I see Denny maybe, ceilinging out, but
his ceiling is Denny average. That's his ceiling is average.
55% Denny above average.
55% from the free throw line is pathetic.
I don't like 2020 Ronnie Brewer. So
here we go. Our sixth graders shoot it at a 60% percentage. If they shoot at 55%, I find that appalling, and that's what he shot it at. That's his numbers. 31% from 3. That's what he shoots it at.
Look at his EuroLeague stats. Look at his Israeli stats.
EuroLeague's a much better league. That's why I'm looking at those stats. When he played the best competition, how did he do? And it wasn't good. It wasn't
when
pretty.
He played competition better than NCAA, how did he do? Was the MVP?
MVP of the Israeli League. I think it's debatable that the Israeli League is better than the Big Ten, but I don't want to get into that now. We're talking about the draft. This is
ridiculous.
It's a night of celebration of the final thing. This is my final statement on Denny Average. He's a tweener defensively. He's too slow to guard the threes in the NBA. He's too weak to guard the fours. So, I mean, I'm not saying he can't get stronger. He seems like a nice kid. I want him to succeed. But I care about the Bulls more, and I know that the final piece of the Red Leviathan that's going to arrive this year cannot be Denny Average.
Well, it's not going to be anyone. We're not going to get the final piece. It's going to be the first piece, as I said. It's going to be the first piece. It's not going to be the final piece. Everyone else on this roster gone in 2 years.
Let's bring in Mark
people on this roster today who you think will be here in 2 years. It's going to be less than 3.
Good prediction. Let's debate that. Mark's here. Let's bring in Mark K from Australia. There he is. Look at that. Oh, man, look at that. Hand. How you doing, Mark? Good to see you, brother.
Doug, how are you, sir?
Oh, Mark, it's amazing to have you here. Just because I was listening to Fred, I need another sane voice in the room. It's great to have you back.
How dare you? How dare you, Doug?
Look, this is awesome. The power of technology. I've got like 5 monitors going on around me at the moment, just a million different screens happening. So I hope everything's working okay. Australian Wi-Fi is not very good, so I'm hoping I can stay on and there's no interruptions.
Well, Mark, thanks for jumping on. I can't tell you how excited I am that you're here for the 4th overall pick as the Bulls take Isaac Okoro, likely take Isaac Okoro and complete the Red Leviathan. But I want to talk to you. First of all, congrats. I don't know if everybody can we announce it? You're going to have a
what do you announce?
About your son. Your
wife's son. Yeah. You're my son.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
I hope your wife isn't on this stream. I mean, she's probably not.
And the question we want to know, Frederick Jabari, Frederick Denzel, like, which one of those two has a better ring to it? Which one are you going with?
that kid would just be cursed for decades if that was the case, if I was to name it something like that.
He'd be an incredible three-point shooter.
Wouldn't play any defense. But
who needs it?
No, thank you. I appreciate it. It's good news. So we'll see how it all plays out.
There we go. All right, so let's get into your take. I know right now, I mean, I'll ask the same question. So who do you want the Bulls to take at 4, assuming that the general Ball, Wiseman, and Edwards trio is gone?
Yeah, the more I think about this, the more I just my mind goes everywhere, I suppose. Like, you can talk me into an array of options. I know there's a lot of people that are in the Killian Hayes camp. There's definitely the Denier group, which, Fred, I'm sure you're definitely part of. There's, Okoro, there's Devin Vassell. There's decent options. Even Patrick Williams is obviously gaining momentum over the last couple of days. As to who I want, I don't really know, because I kind of feel exactly the same about almost all 4 or 5 of those guys that I mentioned. They all have flaws that concern me. They all have benefits that, intrigue me, I suppose. Ultimately, I kind of feel the same about all of them. So I'm not going to be mad at the pick unless they really reach on it. Maybe if they get like Halliburton at number 4 when they could have traded down or something like that, maybe that annoys me. But I don't know. My hot take is that I don't have a hot take.
I'm with you. We were talking about the trade possibility earlier of trading down. And I said, for me, starting at number 4, the next 5 or 6 guys, it's just interchangeable flaws and strengths. They're different, but like they're all kind of about the same. And I don't have a strong opinion. So I'd be happy to trade down to like 7, 8, something like that. But I think there's not like a lot of teams who are like, oh, I got to get to number 4. So I think that type of thing is going to be difficult. And I think you're just going to have to reach to take whoever you think is best at number 4. And that might yield someone who feels a little disappointing in the moment. But always learn to judge the draft in 3 years, not on 3 days.
Yeah, I mean, that's not going to stop me from having some wild takes, of course, if they do something that I'm not expecting. If they were, like I said, if they were to take Halliburton at number 4, and that may require me to send off a few stupid tweets, but you're definitely more rational than I am, Doug. In a rational moment, I tend to agree with you, but I'm not always a rational person. So
don't worry, we'll see if I back that up after the show, after the draft. Let's give it like 20 minutes, and we'll see if that rationality is just because I'm hoping they'll do something I like or not.
Yeah.
I'm curious, Mark, who do you think, though, looking at the team as currently constituted, with the knowledge that we just lost probably arguably our 3 best perimeter defenders, and Dunn, Dunn pretty much is our only exception.
He's all 3 of them.
Yeah, he's 3 defenders in 1. That we lost Tim, Shaq Harrison, obviously. I mean, I think our perimeter defense is going to be a massive problem going forward unless we address it in some form or fashion. Is that if you had to pick, what does this team need and at what position? What would that position and need be?
I mean, they need quite a few things, don't they? Really, I mean, they definitely need that lead. They need that lead guard. So I think that's why people think LaMelo, they think Killian Hayes, but they definitely need a wing because I don't know. Can we trust Otto Porter to be healthy? And even if he is healthy, he's even here beyond this season? Probably not. I mean, Chandler Hutchinson, you would hope could develop into a wing as well, but again, can you trust him to be injury-free next season and going forward? I don't know if you can say so with any confidence. So I feel like they need a wing. I feel like they clearly need guards. Depending on what you're thinking with Lowry, I mean, is Lowry here beyond next season or the season after? Maybe you're drafting Lowry as a long-term replacement at this point. So I'm definitely of the view that they need a lot of things, and really, ideally, like it would be nice to address all of those things in the one player. But as I sort of alluded to, the fact that a lot of these guys at number 4, or even the guys at number 1, to be frank, they have so many big flaws, I guess, that even if whoever you're taking in this draft, you're not going to be addressing, a complete need, let's say. So I think they're going to have to obviously do something at the draft, do something at free agency, but realistically, this is going to continue to be a multi-year rebuild type thing. They're not done after this draft, I guess, is my point.
They need a star. That's what they need. And so whoever they think is the star is the guy they should draft, if they think there's someone there who's a star. But they're at a point, they're not close enough to draft on fit. I mean, you have to draft whoever you think the best player is. There's, as I said, 2 years from now, there won't be 3 guys on this roster who are on it right now. So you don't worry about fit. You got to get the right player, pick the right player. And, I don't know who that's going to be. I sure know the Bulls scouts are better than I am. So I'm going to have a little bit of faith. I'll still have a reaction like Mark said, but I think that's what you got to get. You got to get whoever the best player is.
I just think when all things are remotely equal, which they are with a lot of these players, I don't think there's a different tier with a lot of these players right now.
Not now.
The fit is at the 3. I think I don't think the Bulls are as far away as you think. I keep on saying
they're not far away from being a 40-win team, but they're far away from winning a title. And I mean, being a 40-win team will be nice for a year, and then we'll be like, well, how do we get to be a 50-win team? And that's going to be a harder jump with all these guys needing contracts.
Well, people said the same thing about the 2012 Warriors, and then suddenly, oh my God, Curry made a jump. I don't think it's impossible that Kobe White is going to be very good next year. I know it's unlikely. But I think one of those 4 players, I think Wendell Carter Jr. and Kobe White, are likely to make considerable jumps in this upcoming season when they actually have an actual talented, normal coach who's not a dummy, who can actually put them in position to succeed. I think you're going to see both those players take a significant jump. Zach LaVine's taken a jump every year for the past 3 years. It's not impossible to see this team adding a 3. Let's say Otto Porter Jr. is healthy. I could see this team winning over 40 games this year and being well on their way to developing into a contender. It's not like it's without talent. I don't believe that. Wendell Carter Jr. is at his floor. And this is a good topic right now for Doug Thonus that you're here, Mark, because I want to get you 2 guys fighting. Doug believes that we should trade Wendell Carter Jr. to move up to 2. What say you?
I believes is really a stretch there. I said, if AK believes that James Wiseman is the stud, then Wendell Carter Jr. is not what will hold you back. I don't know that I believe that or not. I don't know how Carter is looking in their private workouts. There's a lot of reasons to think that Wendell Carter Jr. might have a really good year compared to what he did in the past. And if that happens, then I'm fine keeping him. But if the Bulls assessed him and said, after seeing him in workouts, yeah, not it. No.
Are we on the clock here? Is the first pick coming up?
It's coming up soon. That's
what's your prediction for the first pick, guys? Why don't we throw it out? What say you? What say you, Mark?
I can't imagine it being Wiseman. Wiseman doesn't make sense. So it's probably going to be one of let's just come through. Anthony Edwards is the pick most likely. So given that Woj is going with that, I'm gonna say that Anthony Edwards is likely going to be the number 1 pick in this draft.
Anthony Edwards will be the number 1 pick. That's what I predict, and there's a 93% chance, as we all know, of that being correct. So Anthony Edwards on the Timberwolves. I think it's a pretty good fit next to Towns. I mean, who knows? Who knows where he's going to be defensively.
It's a great fit.
Yeah, I like kind of.
They have like nothing at shooting guard. They got a point guard and they got a center.
And Jared Culver and, a couple other, I guess, decent pieces. But that'd be kind of interesting team going forward if they do take Edwards. I just don't think Ball is a perfect fit. That backcourt would be horrific.
Yeah, I think with having Russell, I think Edwards is a good fit. The only problem maybe there is you don't have enough shooting on the perimeter. But I think he's the most talented guy. So he would have been my number one if I was sitting number one. And the Timberwolves clearly had no reason to think like he's a bad fit. He's a better fit than the other two guys that are commonly put there. So, I think that's it.
I think the whole draft then resides on who Golden State takes. Because if Golden State does not take Ball, I just have a hard time believing that Ball is going to be picked by Michael Jordan. I don't think it's going to happen. I think he's going to be there for us at 4. And I would not be depressed if we got, LaMelo Ball. I mean, he's got elite passing skills. Somebody's got to get him in the gym and make him learn a jumper and play some defense. But at least there's something that guy does at an exceptional level. What say you, Mark?
Well, I kind of agree with you that this draft does hinge on obviously what the Warriors do, but even maybe more so based on the news that Klay Thompson's hurt again. So it sounds like he's got a significant injury of sorts. We don't know too much about the details, but I would imagine that news will impact their draft. Maybe not in terms of who they select, but whether they trade the pick or those sorts of things. So I'm assuming they're going to hold on to the pick if I haven't missed something. And ultimately what they do will determine what the Bulls do in some senses. It makes sense for them to take Wiseman given that they need that big man. But at the same time, if Klay Thompson, for whatever reason, is out for a while, then maybe they need another guard. So maybe they just completely throw the draft and they take LaMelo at 2. Who knows?
So the update is Edwards did go number 1, as I predicted. Another correct prophecy.
Oh, God, yeah. You genius, you. It's really unlike what everyone else on the show said.
Let's all remember that it was the scientists at the University of Northeast Idaho analyzed all my tweets and found that they were at 90% true. Mark likes to highlight the 7% that are occasionally wrong. But I'm going to start doing a better effort to promoting my correct picks.
I think all you're doing is you're posting things like, toast is good. Like, yeah, that's true. We'll buy that. Just post like 10 things out of like a dictionary every day just to get that rate up.
How dare you? I got to say, for the last, 10 years, Doug, we spent this time together. And for those who don't know, there is a legendary party that Doug has, a draft party at his palatial estate in the northwest suburbs of Chicago, that some of the greatest minds in NBA Bulls fandom attend. Of course, I've been there for 10 years. And Mark, I cannot wait for the time that you can come and bring your son, Frederick Jabari, as we celebrate the 2029 NBA draft. What say you? Melo to Charlotte. Wait, what's going on here? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
What are you talking
what's
about?
the next pick? Is there another pick here?
Not that I've seen, but I don't know. You completely threw me now. What was your question?
I don't think I had one.
Fly from Australia to my house, which seems like
this is a good thing for me in a sense, because I've never attended one of these draft parties. I've obviously, the fact that I'm on the other side of the world maybe prohibits that. I was planning on coming to Chicago in March, April of this year, but obviously this year has just been a complete whirlwind, so that never happened. But yeah, I would love to get to one of Doug's draft parties at some stage. I won't be bringing my son. I don't want him corrupted by the evil people that may attend, like Frederick. But yeah, I want to get over one day. That would be awesome. But at the same time, for me, connecting with you guys here, this is kind of like my mini version, I guess, of looping into Doug's draft party.
I got to tell you, I'm going to challenge you to a NBA 3-point shooting contest. Do you shoot underhand? Mark, I got to know. Do you shoot underhand? Tell me. Because
I swish him from deep.
I will give you $200 if you beat me in a 3-point contest, NBA 3-point shooting contest. And
US or Australia?
If I win, I have a speech I want you to recite to everyone. I know I still got to owe you. I lost that bet, and I will recite it before the season starts. Who's number 2? Do we have a pick already here?
We have Shams reporting a pick.
No.
Are we going spoiler or no spoiler version here?
Let's go spoiler version.
Well, I mean, people in the chat are saying no spoiler. I'm a fan of non-spoilers, but what can you do?
It's already been spoiled for me because, like I said, I've got 19 monitors going at the moment. So, I'm happy to do whatever.
All right. Well, I think it's no surprise. Second pick, James Wiseman.
Wow.
I mean, I think that's so far. The NBA minds and legends out there agree with me. in terms of pick order. I actually, though, I mean, it seems like a no-brainer, for Golden State, right, to go with Wiseman. He's a perfect fit for the other pieces they have. Hopefully whatever is going on with Clay's leg, which must be pretty bad because they announced it. I mean, I think if he just tweaked a hamstring, they wouldn't say anything. It's still, he was a great fit for the roster. So I think that makes sense. And, I feel he's a high upside guy. So that would have been my number 2. And, we'll see if the big 3 holds. Everyone had Edwards, Wiseman, and Ball as the top 3. And, now we have Charlotte on the clock at number 3.
Gosh, please take Okongwu. So Okongwu is a guy I don't want him to. I don't want on the Bulls. I just don't think we need him, and I don't think he's a top 4 player. I would be excited about Ball being on the Bulls. Like the players I'd be fine with is Ball, Halliburton, Hayes, Obi Toppin. Obviously, I want Isaac Okoro. I think he's going to be the best player in this draft. But any one of those 4, everybody outside of Denny Average, I'll be excited about.
Look, as much as I wanted to talk basketball with you both, probably I'd say 70% of the reason I'm here tonight is like I said, I feel very, very similarly with a lot of these guys. So I won't be too mad no matter what happens, but just for me, for content reasons, I will be extremely ecstatic if I'm able to be on the line when the Bulls take Denny Avdia, just to see your reaction. Oh my God, it would be beautiful, Frederick.
It would be pretty amazing to see the Bulls pick Denny Avdia just to watch Fred. But I'm going to say this, for content reasons, you got to think long-term, Mark. If we can get LaMelo Ball, the amount of content that's going to come where we got LeVar talking, we got I think that's the long-term content, play for us podcasters, writers. I think that's what it's going to give us the most stories.
That is definitely true. I mean, from a pure Bulls perspective, but for me, as like my beat is Fred's tweets. That is my beat. So for pure selfish reasons, I don't know if I can agree, but I get essentially the way I'm doctoring this up. There is a no lose proposition for me, as there always is.
I'll be kind of devastated if Ball's taken at number 3 because I really do fear at that point Denny might be. I got to admit, I never thought Denny was a remote possibility. I thought that I could see Arturis looking at his 55% free throw percentage and just throwing up into his.
Well, why have you changed that now? Like, what has changed in your opinion that now makes you think Arturis? Like we talked about it for 5 minutes, and you think Arturis changed his mind? Like he's tuning in. He's like, you know what? That Doug Thonus has got something there.
I just think Arturis. I have this vision of Arturis at night before he goes to bed, reading my tweets, and then saying like nodding his head, and then taking some of my thoughts and using that for the future of the team.
I will tell you that
you signed Denzel.
Gar Forman used to read my blog, and he would occasionally, when I wrote like something that inside information, he would ping me on it and like ask me questions. So there's a chance that Arturis is looking at your tweets. Don't be.
Who's this Jeff Schwartz? I love this guy. Jeff Schwartz, 52% free throw percentage is a huge red flag. Amen, brother. Amen. I love some of these comments. I wish I could jump in here too. I saw Nikhil. Not a fan of Ball. Fred B seems. I don't know who he is, but he seems very smart because I'm sure he agrees with most of my picks. Do we have a third pick yet? Not yet.
I think officially they've not announced Wiseman yet.
Oh, here we come.
I think they're about to announce that just now.
All right.
So Woj is just like so much ahead of what's actually occurring, if that's the case. Which is, how do you feel about that? Woj sort of and Shams going ahead and announcing this thing and just ruining the broadcast to a degree. Like it's fun to a degree, like being online and maybe if you're not watching the broadcast, but if you are watching the broadcast whilst trying to be on Twitter at the same time, I don't know, it kind of ruins it.
That's why you got to come to the draft party because then we're just like, it's no spoilers. And because you're then with a big group, so you have the social connection of being like on Twitter and chatting with people, but you don't have to listen to all that. So that's how I've avoided such panic. I do have a funny Shams story though. So for those of you who don't know, Shams, he was on Real GM for a while as a writer, and he was on Chicago Now, which is where I used to host my blog. And so when he was very young and he had a blog on Chicago Now, we used to chat all the time on some old messenger client. And I gave him some really great advice, which was, Shams, you probably shouldn't try to be a sports writer. It's a terrible career. There's no money in it. You should just go be a doctor or something else, like whatever it was. And so thank goodness that he did not listen to me worst advice ever to given to anyone in the history of the world. So that's my story.
I got to ask you a question, Mark. I don't know if you've heard the discussion back and forth between Doug and I. I think Doug's obviously the pessimistic one out of us two, and I'm
Realist.
Anyone is
a little bit more optimistic
next to you, Fred. No one is an optimistic person next to you. It's impossible to be optimistic when you're in the room.
Hey, I don't think it's that optimistic to say the Bulls are going to win 44 games next year. 4 + 4 is 8. I think I think it's entirely possible they'll win 44 games. In fact, that's what I'm going to say right now. But why is that like out of the realm of? Let's go to you, Mark. Why don't you be our tiebreaker? 44 wins, Doug. How many do you think?
I will give the Bulls 37 wins next year.
37. What say you, Mark? 41. Make this an extremely boring pod.
What did you say? 44. It's definitely not going to be 44. So I'll say 35.
Wow.
Yeah.
Even more pessimistic. You don't see like what much you back up your reasoning in this weak East?
Well, see, I don't view it as pessimistic. I view it as realistic. So I just push back on that generally, at least anyway. But I'm waiting to see what this team does from a backcourt point of view, I suppose. I don't believe in, just handing the backcourt reins to Zach and Kobe and just assuming that the offense will take care of itself now that the bad bald man is gone. I don't think that's necessarily just going to happen. It won't evolve like that. So I don't want to get under this assumption that Boylan being gone and then Donovan stepping in, that everything will just be fine and dandy, and then this core will unleash itself and here we come playoff time. I don't think that's the way this will necessarily play out, because I still have, I guess, question marks about this core moving forward more generally. And I just, for me at least personally, without someone really directing the offense, someone really engaging the offense, and probably more so for Larry and Wendell and even the guys on the wings, I just think without that real backcourt leader and just that sense of IQ in those closing moments, in key critical fourth quarter moments, I think the Bulls could lose maybe 5 or 10 games that maybe they should win without that sort of just pure intelligence in the backcourt. So that's my concern, which is why I wanted Chris Paul. I know, Frederick, you were very much against that, but that's why I wanted Paul. And had the Bulls got Paul and done what the Suns are doing now, essentially, I would probably be more confident in them and would be saying, 40+ wins is on the table and maybe a playoff berth is on the table. Whereas now I guess I kind of view them as a 9th or 10th seed, and maybe in this strange, weird season with the play-in tournament, maybe they could still get in, finishing the season with 35 wins. But I don't know. We'll wait and see.
And a great point from the chat from SEO. Remember, guys, it's a 72-game season. I think all of our numbers were on a prorated basis.
That's right.
82 games. You weren't picking 44 out of 72. I was
Thank
not
God
picking
for the chat.
out of 72, and I'm sure Mark was not picking 35 out of 72.
No.
We were prorating against an 82, whatever that comes out being. So we've all forgot this is such a nutso year. And I want to note another comment from chat. KT noted, the East is going to be a little tougher potentially this year. Harden might come in. The Nets are going to be better. If Wall is able to come back and be healthy, the Wizards are going to be better. I don't see the East as like necessarily getting weaker. I don't think it's a murderer's row, but I mean it's
Hey,
I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk or anything.
It will be more of a cakewalk than the West.
Yeah,
I don't want to play New Orleans. I don't want to.
I just don't think it's getting weaker. I don't think it's weaker than last year.
Well, the good news is that we're getting stronger. Here's the pick.
There goes the Hornets. There goes LaMelo.
Who do you take? Oh my gosh! Please, not Denny. Not Denny.
Are you just going to chant "not Denny" for the next 5 minutes?
Denny,
like Steven in the background. Can you just put it to me and Mark? Just
I got to tell you, I am shocked that Michael Jordan took LaMelo Ball. I mean, that's not going to be. Can you imagine him sitting on court side and walking up to Michael? I don't think that's going to end well for Mr. Ball.
I mean,
anyhow,
the Hornets just got super interesting though. I really like this Hornets team. I like their front court, their young bigs. They would have been good with Okongwu or Wiseman, but the fact that they've added LaMelo, I think this is going to be an interesting rebuild now. So I like this for the Hornets. I was expecting them to take a big and maybe go the safe route because they didn't have a center, but the fact that they've actually gone for the upside play here, I think this is interesting for the Hornets. So we'll see how it works out, obviously, but it's cool. I'm glad they did it.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I think it's going to really help Miles Bridges, who I think has a very high ceiling, who hasn't been, when you got a guy, when you got a situation like you do in Charlotte where there's not a ton of facilitators to make you better, this guy's definitely going to make him better. And I think he's going to do a lot of exciting highlight plays on tap, and it'll be pretty exciting. Patrick Williams, if he's the pick, on a scale 1 to 10 being complete disappointment, 10 being complete elation, where will you guys be? Let's start out with you, DT.
I don't know, maybe like a 4 or 5. I think no one can give me complete disappointment, and maybe no one can also give me just complete elation either. I just don't think there's tremendous talent. I mean, Williams is obviously a project offensively. I don't think he's got much at all there right now. He's pretty athletic, but I don't know if he's so athletic he's going to defend the 3 or if he's going to be just a 4. And I think that's a little bit of an open question to me. Can he develop a jumper? He's got burgeoning skills in a few areas, but really hasn't shown them off. So, he's a guy you maybe see work out and you get a different feel for what we've seen on the tape, which is kind of limited. He's a guy who might have come on with a little bit more time. So we'll see how it goes with him. But I would not be excited.
What about you, Mark?
Yeah, look, the way I feel about him is he's more of a 4 than a 3. I don't see this, this upside, if there is any upside in him being a small forward. So I don't see him as the small forward of the future as such. I do see him as a more of a 4, a modern day 4, let's say, who can maybe even swing up to the 5 in these certain smaller lineups. We just got done watching playoffs where someone like Pascal Siakam, for example, was closing games at center. Then I don't think it's out of based on where the league is going, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that someone like Patrick Williams could even scale up to the center in certain matchups on certain lineups. So I definitely don't view him as a starting 3. Maybe he can play 3 in certain rotations. I view him as a 4. And if he is a 4, and if I'm correct in that, then what does that mean for someone like Larry Markkinen or maybe even Wendell Carter? Because maybe someone like Patrick Williams is a good defensive option, a good defensive power forward that you could put next to someone like Larry Markkinen. If you were to shift Larry up to center, I think that would be problematic, and I would have my concerns. But maybe that is part of the thinking as well. So this is interesting if it does happen, I suppose.
I got to tell you though, I'll be disappointed just in the fact that Patrick Williams came off the bench for Florida State. I don't think there's any mock draft that had him going this high. I understand there's been rumors that the Pistons were high on him at 7. I don't think if he was available, he'd be. Let's say the Bulls take him at 4. I don't think Cleveland would have taken him at 5. I don't think there's any way he would have gone there. I don't think Atlanta would have taken him. I don't think the Knicks or Wizards or Suns had any interest either. It just seems like a natural move to try to make a deal with the Pistons or move back even further. I don't think he's a guy who should be the 4th pick in this draft, and I think you're not getting a lot of value out of that pick. I don't see him being better than Obi Toppin. I don't see him being better than definitely Isaac Okoro. Obviously, they play a different position, but he wasn't even the best player in his team. Devin Vassell was a better player and better prospect, in my opinion, than Williams. So I'd be shocked if they take it. Here we go. Here's a pick, please. Who they taking?
They took Denny Avicii. I'm just kidding, Fred.
Denny.
They took Patrick Williams. Wow, unbelievable. Well, I will say this: I'm excited. It's not Denny Average. I do sense a mild sense of elation as I just condemn the pick leading up to the pick.
I would have not been happy with Patrick Williams, and I can't say that I'm happy in my initial reaction. But even though I want to rant a little bit about it, I'm going to go back to what I said 30 minutes ago, which is in the end, it doesn't matter what you think on draft day. What matters is what you think in 3 years. Patrick Williams is got things that could give you hope that he could be an actual star player. He's got the athleticism and some other things. I don't really believe in him necessarily, but I understand why you just take the guy you want. I don't think there's really great trade back opportunities on the table, even though I think maybe you could have got him a little later. His name shot up the draft charts over the last 2 days. You had not heard Patrick Williams high in the draft in the last 2 days. All of a sudden, everyone was talking about this as the possibility of him going up this high, and lots of teams looking for him. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see if it works out okay.
Yeah. Mark, what say you?
No, I was just going to say, I'm kind of lukewarm on him, I suppose. I understand it. look, as I said before, there was probably never going to be a pick that I was just going to be purely elated about. So maybe I'm just being, unrealistic, and that was a fallacy to think that what the Bulls were going to do it for was going to blow me away, let's say. But yeah, I don't know about this. Like, it kind of feels like maybe a high upside play, maybe he breaks right, and maybe, I don't know, maybe someone can talk themselves into thinking he's a Kawhi Leonard type thing. I definitely don't think that's the case, but maybe that's what they're thinking or hoping, that he can maybe break right. But to me, this guy screams high level role player, as a lot of these guys at number 4 would. But yeah, I don't know about this one. Well, I'm telling myself that I suppose I have to trust AK, but do I really have to? I don't know. We'll see.
The guy's not perfect. That's one thing I don't understand, where people are constantly like, oh, I trust an AK. I trust an AK. I trust him as much as I trusted Garpax. I view the worst one. If you're going to compare both groups, it wasn't a problem for me. It was the drafting ability of Gar and Pax. I mean, if you look at all the trades that both orgs made, the Denver org that he was a part of, they did really good. They had some really good moments. So did the Bulls. From 07 to 11 was about as good as you can get in drafting Derrick Rose, Jakeem Noah, Jimmy Butler, and Taj Gibson. So I never really thought the drafting was a problem for the Bulls. It was everything else that went along with it. This Williams pick, I watched him a ton. He had a lot of interesting, I will admit, there were some interesting moments where I thought he was a little bit better facilitator than I expected. Definitely a better passer than I expected. So that's probably kind of fits in line with what Arturas is looking for in a really high IQ, good player who can move the ball. He has that skill. But again, he came off the bench for Florida State, and I don't think he was a better prospect than Devin Vassell. So I'm not going to act like this is a great thing.
Here's what I'm going to say about Patrick Williams, and maybe this applies to anyone, not just Williams. There was a record amount of time these guys have had since they last played college basketball or international ball between that time and the draft. So like normally, college basketball is out kind of in April, and you've got maybe 2-3 months to kind of prep. I mean, this is like a totally different thing, right? You're done in March, and now we're having a draft in November. And so what has Patrick Williams or James Wiseman or any of these guys been doing for the last 6 months? And what are they able to show in a workout, and what type of things are they able to do now? And it's going to be a bigger gap between that in a normal draft. And so we'll see what happens. I like him more than Vassell for sure, in the sense that I just didn't necessarily buy Vassell's athleticism. Like a guy who's a great defender but isn't a superstar athlete is questionable to me. So Patrick Williams has the athletic tools. I have guys with athletic tools I maybe would have taken Okoro first, but Williams has got a great free throw percentage, which usually projects into being a good shooter. I think that's what they're seeing, is this is a 3-and-D guy at a minimum, and then maybe if he gets a little bit off the dribble game, you got a little bit more on top of that. But I do think you're right. It's not going to be an immediate impact guy. This is a guy who's going to be 2 to 3 years down the line, and if it works out, if he does develop those skills, that's fine. We don't need an immediate impact guy. We need the best guy, and I'll wait to see how he develops.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I'm almost thinking like I'm just trying to think of NBA comps for this guy, and it's not a perfect comp that are coming to my mind, because I don't think he can guard perimeter players like this player that I have in mind. But I wonder if he, will be an OG Anunoby type player, someone that can step out and hit the three eventually, someone who's big enough to guard power forwards, maybe play some center in certain rotations. I don't really see him doing much off the bounce, let's say. Probably going to be most of his offense is going to come off, working the glass, doing the dirty work, hitting spot-up shots, those sorts of things. I don't think he'll be able to guard guards like OG Anunoby can. He can really step out and really guard on the perimeter. I don't see that for Patrick Williams. So I wonder if that's a reasonable comp, a lower level OG Anunoby, or maybe not lower level, but a different type of OG Anunoby, let's say. So I don't know. That's kind of how I feel about it right now.
I don't think that is the truth. If that's what we got. If we got completely like rich man's OG Anunoby, it might not be a great pick. So I'm going to hope that he ends up a little bit more. I think really the key is whether he can develop something off the bounce. I feel pretty confident he'll be able to develop at least a catch and shoot ability and be solid from there. And I think he'll be able to be very good defensively. And some questions about whether he'll be able to guard the three or not, but I think probably will, hopefully will. If not, I think that's a different problem. but if he can develop something off the bounce, then you're going to end up with something special. And if he can't, then you're just going to have a role player.
No, I would definitely say I don't think he projects at 3 at all. I don't think he can guard any threes. He's a 4, which really makes me question what's the future of Larry Markkinen, going forward with these two, because Larry can't play the center position. I never felt that he was good there. I guess occasionally spot start. I mean, in select matchups you can, but I just seems like a lot of Bulls fans are like, well, let's play Larry at the 5. Larry's not a 5. He's not good at it. I don't think he's talented enough to play it, especially defensively. This guy's a 4. And, so you can't have two guys in the long run both playing the same position.
It's almost as if someone said to you earlier that 2 years from now, there won't be 3 guys on this roster who are here today.
Well, I like Larry.
What type of clairvoyant person would have said such a phrase when wondering, who will be around?
Oh, my God. Did Okoro go to Cleveland? My gosh, darn it. This is unbelievable. This is unstinking believable. Gosh,
well, you're gonna be mad about the next 10 picks.
Can't believe it. God, this is such a pile of crap out of Cleveland. Gosh. Oh,
how does this impact your 44 win total, Fred?
This is
what I want to know. Are we down to like 41 wins now? 43 wins now?
I'll tell you what, this is irritating because this is the guy who I felt was going to be the best player in the draft. I tell you what, I did not expect freaking Cleveland to have the sense to take him. I thought for sure I like Obi Toppin, but I thought for sure they were going to go with Obi Toppin, and they take Isaac Okoro, the best defensive perimeter player in the draft, to cover up for those pathetic backcourt that they have there defensively. This is irritating as heck. And I tell you what, I'm pissed. I am now officially pissed off that Okoro went 5, and we went with Patrick Williams, the guy who's
Am I going to be the positive one on the show now? Is that how this is going to move?
I'm sorry.
Am I going to be the optimist now? If we switch it all around, now you're going to be the pessimistic one? Yeah, here's the thing I kind of wonder. A lot of people give Patrick Williams, Marvin Williams comparisons, both in terms of game and the fact that Marvin Williams came off the bench but was still viewed as a high lottery pick, and you have that similarity as well. And the thing I'll say is Marvin Williams coming off the bench for like a really amazing team with really great players in front of him is a little different.
Marvin Williams sucks. He's a bust. He's a total bust. The guy was picked in the top 5. If that's who we've got is freaking Marvin Williams, this is a nightmare for the next 5 years. This should have been the 5th piece. That 5th piece should have been a guy that we stinking with the Cleveland. Now we got a double. We got 2 4s. Hey, everybody, let's have a party. We got the 2 best 4s in the division. Sucks.
Is there a way I can get a copy of this video afterwards? Again, pure content purposes.
Hopefully, it just stays on YouTube afterwards. I gotta say, is this better or worse than if they picked Kenny Avija?
Well, I'm just saying, Gradobo, whatever this guy's name is, Gradobo is saying is Williams will be better than Okoro. I don't think that's remotely true. I don't. I tell you right now, last year he wasn't better than Okoro, especially on the defensive end. He might have potential down the line, but again, he's a 4. He's a 4. Both these guys, I don't know how you can watch. I watched a ton of Florida State versus Auburn. I don't know how you come to that conclusion that this guy, Patrick Williams, is miles better than Isaac Okoro. Gosh darn it, this is such a joke. I would have been fine if he would have fallen to 7. He's going to stinking in our division. Go on, guys. I'm sorry. I need a little break here.
I think it was amazing.
Shout out to Felipe out there. Felipe's Godo Logbo, I can't even pronounce his actual name. I can't pronounce Felipe's last name or his screen name. But that's who you were referring to there, Fred. I'm a listener of both of our podcasts. So shout out to Felipe. Excuse Fred and his disappointment. He's just an angry boy at the moment.
I would say you just can't take it. Like I said, you got to look at the draft and just say you have professional talent evaluators looking at all these guys. I think the Bulls, even though everyone loves to hate on the Gar-Pax regime, I think they were pretty solid in the draft for the most part. And you know what? A lot of those same scouts are probably still there. Like they didn't just usher them all out. You have a new general manager maybe making the pick, but a lot of the same people are still informing on the pick. And I think in the end, if they like this guy, there's probably something to like. Have a little bit of faith early on. It's the first pick, for the new GM, new executive vice president. Let's just see how he does. It wouldn't have been the guy I would have taken, but I didn't get to bring all these guys in for workouts. I didn't get to see what they could do. It's been a lot. Let's see what he's able to accomplish.
Yeah, I mean, we'll give him a chance. All these professional, there were professionals picking Mo Bamba at Wendell Carter Jr., and I was sitting there saying that was a dumb move. So, I mean, I'm not perfect either. Nobody's perfect in talent evaluation.
Yeah, I mean, we got Doug.
We're doing it. Don't know any better either. Doug, we're just as good as these guys. I can go by my record.
Not true, but
that is true. We're just as good. We picked all these guys too.
I think maybe with the same information, you could be as good as these guys, but you don't have the same information. They have more information. They spend more time. They get private workouts. They get to do other things. Either way, you know what? Just remember the Doug McDermott draft, how much you loved Doug McDermott and thought he was going to be the next guy. You were maybe not entirely correct on that. Not entirely. And so all I'm saying is your opinion on the draft occasionally be wrong. We both hated Luka Doncic last year.
That's not true.
That is absolutely true.
That is not true. I said Luka Doncic was going to have a long NBA career. I did not expect him to be a superstar like he is. Steven, is there a problem? I think do we have any issues here?
No, I was just messing around. So this is my one producer spot.
There's our producer here. Thanks again.
I'm just appearing back into the realm here.
Could you, hey, Steven, real quick question.
Yeah.
Are you disappointed with this pick? Because I think we all are. We're all disappointed with this pick.
It's funny because when we were getting all of this ready, we're thinking, oh, Patrick Williams wasn't even in the realm of possibility 2 days ago, and then all of a sudden here we are. And this morning we're like, oh, maybe we should do some stuff for Patrick Williams and build some things out. And thank God we did. It's from a very casual basketball fan. I will say this, just in terms of the work ethic and the defensive aspect. And I'm going to pull, and this is very, very stretchy thoughts here. But given that Billy Donovan is the head coach, given the defensive nature, the work ethic, this feels like Billy Donovan's Joakim Noah with the Bulls in a way, in my mind, just the way that those intangibles kind of connect. I know they don't play the same position, but it feels that way in a sense, just on how that comes across for me. I'm willing to let it play out because it's not Garpack, so we don't know if they're going to screw this up right out of the gate, but we'll see what happens.
All right. I'll agree with full, and a lot of the takes on here. Like, I'm fine with, listen, it's not Denny A. So I'm fine with that. It's not Denny average. I feel a little bit of benefit of that this guy is not Denny. So I feel good because Mark, that would have been it for me. I probably would have called it an evening and just gone home. I am home.
I think that's pretty close to what you did here. I mean, I don't really see the difference.
Well, I would have been fine with it if Coro didn't go the next pick, and that's the guy I wanted, and he didn't go. But if Denny goes to New York, they will rectify the night for me.
And so we got Onyeka Okongwu, who went number 6 to Atlanta just recently, which we didn't get to talk about. And it's great Brandon to point out that a trade for Denny is still a possibility.
Brandon just
maybe we're gonna just trade Lowry for Denny, and just to make your day.
God, can you imagine that? What a horrible look! I love that quote there from Robert Hyde. Denny A dropping like a Russian submarine. What say you, Mark?
Well, I mean, it could be a great value pick for someone, clearly. So whoever gets Denny, I think is getting a steal at this point, Frederick. So can we just go back to talking about Isaac Okoro to Cleveland?
I think let's leave that be for now. Let it sit. Because I got to tell you, this Atlanta pick is interesting. I think Atlanta, I've long stated that with the rise of the Red Leviathan, they will be our biggest competitor in the next few years. I don't know if you guys agree. I think they got the core of a really good team. Interesting addition because they needed help on the defensive end.
Wait, sorry, were we talking about Cleveland?
No, we're talking about Atlanta.
Oh, Atlanta. Okay. I thought we were back in Cleveland and Okoro.
No. Okongwu. I'm talking about Okongwu.
Okongwu, yes, I agree.
Yeah, Cleveland sucks so bad that even Okoro can't save them for a couple of years. They need more talent. But I think Atlanta, with this addition, is really could potentially be dangerous. What say you?
Yeah, it sounds like they're going to do some things in free agency as well. They've got a lot of cap space. They're one of the few teams that have legitimate cap space. So I'm assuming they're going to bring in 2, maybe 3 vets of sorts that will maybe help them speed up their rebuilding process, let's say. So assuming the Bulls don't go that route and maybe just continue to, I'm assuming the Bulls won't do much in free agency, given that they have a lot of guaranteed contracts and maybe they're aiming more for 2021. So maybe they don't do a lot in free agency. The team that they do have now, plus the picks, maybe 1 or 2 smaller free agents. In that sense, then it'll be interesting to see if the Hawks go past the Bulls. Maybe that's something to consider in terms of your playoff predictions for a Drake. But yeah, this is an interesting pick for them, particularly like they just traded for the Houston Center, Clint Capella. So how does this work? How does this work? I guess they definitely needed that rim protection and defense. So they've got that in Okongwu's. But yeah, I'm surprised they went with him, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think Okongwu was a good pick there, just like value wise. I think he was his athleticism. A lot of people thought he was the best big man in the draft, and so I think that's going to be a nice pick for Atlanta. And in terms of our question there, I just don't think Capella is a long-term fit there. I don't think they think a whole lot of Capella, but I agree. Those 2 guys seem very similar. They seem like actually kind of the same guy. I used Capella as kind of my comparison NBA comp for Okongwu. So they do seem to have a little bit of a logjam maybe with Collins, Okongwu, and Capella.
Yeah, the Collins thing is going to be interesting as well because they've got a lot of wings that can shift up to that 4 position as well. I mean, your boy DeAndre Hunter, Frederick, I think he's an option to play some small ball 4 as well. So the fact that, what does this mean for John Collins? Obviously, they don't view him as a center, so maybe that's why they went Okongwu as well, the fact that they don't really want to scale him up to center. So, this is interesting. But they do have a pretty nice core at this point. So the pick has just been made for the Pistons as well. So Killian Hayes is going to Detroit.
Oh my gosh,
that will piss off a lot of Bulls fans, I would imagine. So
I was never a big fan of Killian Hayes, so him moving to Detroit, that maybe surprises me. But like he was kind of like him and Patrick Williams are both maybe like the next 2 guys out of my list of guys I liked, kind of starting at 4. They were maybe 1 tier below, but this draft has got like everyone in it is just like, yeah, I'm like 70% of a great basketball player and 30% something that needs a whole lot of work. And we'll see what happens with Killian Hayes. It's just good size. I just wonder if he really has quite enough athleticism to really have that ceiling. Though I get number 7, maybe really need that.
I can guarantee you Obi Toppin will go to New York Knicks now, and he'll probably be the Rookie of the Year. I fully expect that, which will be difficult for me to handle.
Well, the thing about Obi Toppin and the New York Knicks is we know Tom Thibodeau loves playing rookies that don't defend. So Obi Toppin would fit in amazingly.
Like Karl Anthony Towns.
He's just the kind of guy that
he played him the 2nd most minutes in the league that year. I saw a comment there. Who said that? Marcus Couch. Yes, this is Michael. That's my son. Younger days. And then there's Rocky fighting Balboa up there fighting Drago. I feel like I've been fighting Drago after this. I'm just shocked that Okoro went 5. Like I fully expected him to go 7, 8, 9. Didn't expect him to go 5. It's just like a real gut punch, like a mule kicked me in the diaphragm. That's what I feel like. Aaron Neesmith is another player I love. I expect him to be first team All NBA. Write these down, everyone.
And it'd be interesting to see what happens if the Bulls make any trades or any other moves in this draft. They were rumored to be part of a lot of different pieces. So far nothing has materialized. Arturas has a reputation of making a lot of trades. A lot of times, trades won't take place until you see who is on the board or something like that. And so we'll see what happens now. If the Bulls are going to be involved in anything else, or if this is just kind of it. And given that we all felt Patrick Williams was kind of a reach, my guess is that no one is looking to trade up to get him. So now the question will be whether we trade anyone on the roster to acquire another pick. And, that kind of feels a little bit like a stretch at this point. I think if you're going to trade Lowry, you probably would have been hoping to get a pick around one of these guys already, though, maybe not.
I'm really against trading Lowry or Wendell Carter Jr. just because I think they're at their trade floor. It's never a smart move to trade a player at their floor. I think we're all in agreement that those guys right now are about as low as they can go in terms of a ROI in the trade market. Kobe White, a little bit higher. I think Zach LaVine's at near his ceiling as an ROI in the trade market. That's when you make the trade.
Yeah, LaVine, I feel the same about Lowry. I think actually is maybe at his ceiling on the trade market only because he's a free agent at the end of the year, and you can't count on trading him at the end of the year. So it's either now or at the trade deadline are the only two options you have. And to think he's going to be more valuable at the trade deadline, it could happen if he has a great start of the year. But any minor injury, anything else, and it's not going to be higher. This might be it.
Mark, we appreciate you giving us so much time. I know you got to get going to record a show. Any final comments? Or do you want to stick around until we finally see where Denny gets picked? I mean, we might be here for another hour.
Look, I'm more than happy.
Stick around.
I'm happy to stay around as long as you need me, but if you're booting me out at the same time, I understand, Frederick. I know you're disappointed, and you just probably want to end this show.
No. Please stick around.
No, okay.
I love talking to you.
What was your question? What was your question there?
Well, do you agree with me on my comments I made regarding trading Wendell Carter Jr. and Larry Markkinen? They're at their trade.
Very much agree with you on Wendell Carter. I think this whole, and it was before obviously the pick that they made, this whole idea of trading for and Wendell up to 2, and obviously maybe they still do it thereafter, but I doubt if they do it now. But yeah, I'm very much against trading Wendell. Lowry, you can maybe talk me into it, but to your point, his value is just completely low at this point. Having said that, there is scope for it to go even lower, given that he's entering the last year of his rookie contract. Who knows if they extend him at this point? Maybe Larry's just not very good. Maybe he just got a lot of usage in his first 2 seasons that maybe inflated our perception of him, maybe inflated his own perception of the type of player he could be. So we'll see how it all unfolds, but I think there is risk in keeping Larry and not trading him now, because maybe it goes worse and you can get even less value for him next season. So
you don't believe that. You don't believe that. None of us.
I think it's possible. It's in play. Why not?
Larry's a better player than this. We all know it's true. This is as bad as he could have played. He was not put in position to succeed.
It doesn't matter. Like
he was relegated to a third. Mistake.
He could tweak a hamstring for a month. Obi Toppin.
Another correct prophecy, Mark. Mark it down. That's another one. Send it off. That Obi Toppin would go to the Knicks. I just said it. I said I guaranteed it. Denny A. Sorry, Denny. Maybe what team is going to? Maybe he'll end up in Phoenix, which actually be a good location for him.
And going back to Lowry, Fred, if he tweaks the hamstring and he's out for 2-3 weeks, his value will absolutely be less. I mean, like it's one of those things where the last time you have to trade him is at the trade deadline. Like it's like if anything goes wrong between now and the trade deadline, his trade value is 0. Now I don't know what his trade value is right now. His trade value right now might also be near 0, and if it is, then of course you just roll the dice and try and keep him and see what happens. But if his trade value was, say, like a 10th pick in this draft, like there's a very good chance you're not going to get a pick that ends up being that good in 2 months. A very good chance. And
I feel like I'm in bizarro world here. We all watched them in February 2019 for the course.
Oh, great. We're talking about February
24 and 12.
2018.
We all saw him play as a rookie, played exceptionally well. He was first team all rookie. I mean, let's not act like this guy is not a good basketball player. Doug, we were together for the first game of last year where he put up tremendous numbers. He was not put in position.
He's not done that consistently, and he's a free agent at the end of the year. And you're now going to have to pay him like 15 to 20 million, 25 million. Who knows what he's going to want? So once you have this negotiation and he's paid at his value and he's paid at market value, then what does that mean to you at that point? Then, like, I mean, it's like, yeah, okay, he's an okay player. He's not a great player. He's maybe a good player, but now he's a good player making $20 million a year, and he still has a lot of flaws. Like that doesn't have a lot of value anymore. There's no value in the trade market. So, it's fine if they can't get anything for him. I'm not saying dump him, but like don't think that like you're gonna get more later. You're not gonna get more later most likely. Like the draft is kind of when teams are looking to rebuild and do their thing. It's a lot less likely you're gonna get more later. It's more that now you're going to play it out and you're going to see if you keep him and see if he's part of your long-term future and see if he helps you win games. And that may be fine. I'm not saying you got to trade him, but if you do, you're not going to get more for him later, in my opinion.
Lauri Markkinen is going to be put in a far better position to succeed under Billy Donovan. That is a fact. The dope we had for the past year and a half did not do that. He was a horrible head coach. He did not put his players in position to succeed to their strengths. I agree with you. Larry Markkinen might max out as an average NBA player, but I can tell you this: he will be better than what he showed last year. There's no doubt.
Fine, but he didn't show anything last year, so it's not something people are going to trade for once you're going to be a free agent. That's how trade value works, Fred. Like, you're not going to have trade value when someone then has to re-up you at market value, and you're not going to be on a valuable contract, because if someone's paying you $20 million for $20 million worth of value, you're not adding wins to dollars, and so he's not going to be worth more in the trade market. Now, he might be worth more to help us win games. That's a possibility. He might play much better. I'm optimistic that anyone might play better with a new head coach. Not as optimistic as most people. I think people have just started being like, oh, Boylan was the whole problem. Before that, it was Garpax was the whole problem. I really think like the players are most of the problem. Like, people trying to figure out these other things, I think, are like overreaching. So I'm not so excited. I'm excited about the changes, but I don't think we're going to see massive differences just because of them. And I think Lowry will probably be a little better, but I don't think we're going to see an entirely different player than we did before.
Mark, you've heard both sides here. What say you?
Well, I just wanted to point out a comment that's made in the chat here. So from Brandon Georgia Lucas, he says, Lowry had a ton of open shots last year. He just missed them. And that was certainly the case in October and November last year. So you can talk about Boylan being bad. He ruined the team, this and that. And like I sort of alluded to at the top of the show when I joined, I don't think it's just going to naturally all become rosy now that you replace Boylan with Donovan. And, maybe there were questions about the way Lowry was used. I have more questions about Wendell, the way he was used, than Larry Markkinen. But at the same time, I've always had concerns about Larry being passive and not necessarily trying to be anything more within the offensive hierarchy. So how much of him just settling for jump shots or just taking jump shots was on him versus Boylan? Like, I don't know how we can answer that as fans from our vantage point. But at the same time, those were the shots he was getting. And a lot of those looks that he was getting were nice and clean. And he was clanking a lot of those shots. And this is a guy that's came into the league with a perception of being a stretch power forward who, through 3 years in the NBA, has basically been a very average NBA three-point shooter. He's not an efficient scorer. He's a league average efficient scorer. So, like, why am I just going to automatically assume that next season, based on a 10-game sample in February of 2019, which feels like 10 years ago, that everything's going to be fine and he's going to come back and be a 2010 guy? It's wait and see for me.
Yeah, I think you make a great point there. And the thing that's interesting is when we've seen Lowry be successful, and when we drafted him, we thought stretch four. He's going to shoot 40% from the three-point line. He's going to be a stretch four. He's going to bomb away from three, shoot over people. Even when Lowry was playing good, he never did that. Like, that was not his game. What actually surprised us when he was playing good was the way he attacked closeouts, and then he would get pull up mid-range jumpers, or he would get to the rim, and he was attacking those closeouts. And so that's where Lowry so far in the NBA has been at his best. It's not kind of in our heads, I think, even so where I perceive him. Like, I still kind of have this stretch four perception. But, to date, that really hasn't been how he has achieved the most success. And we'll see, what happens going forward. But you're completely right. He was passive. He was just shooting from the perimeter. He wasn't attacking as much. And his jumper was just so-so, and especially poor early. There were some concerns that maybe he was hurt, and those injuries were what caused him to shoot poorly. And without those injuries, he would have shot a little better. I remember there was someone on the Real Gym forum who had an amazing piece, kind of breaking down his consistency in terms of shooting at different peaks. And it kind of really mapped well to when we knew he was like going through some type of injury concern. But then that's its own problem. Like, if you're getting hurt all the time with these little things because you're not physically able to take the pounding of the NBA in the position, and then that throws off your game too much, then, that doesn't really, yield much for us, even if that is the reason.
Yeah, big news. Denny drafted by the Wizards. I think it's a perfect fit. I'm so happy.
Wow. That changes their trajectory. Like, that may bump the Bulls out of the playoffs.
For sure.
If Washington can get their shit together now, getting in Denny A with Bradley Beal, re-sign Bertans. Wow, that's a squad, Fred.
Let me fire off an email over to Billy. Look into Hack a Denny. Hack a Denny is a strategy. It's going to be a great strategy. I just love this. This is going to be so great for a guy who can't really stretch the floor now. Is going to be playing with Wall, who's not the most, I'd say friendly. You need a guy to stretch the floor for him. Obviously, Bradley Beal, legit player. Definitely a better team, I think that's probably a good fit for him, actually. For him to succeed is to play with those two guys. But we'll see where he ends up. He's got to get a lot better as a shooter, no doubt, as a free throw shooter. As I said before, our sixth graders shoot at a 60% rate. They shoot below 60% rate, we make them run. and he shot a 55% rate. So I don't know how you feel about that, but I don't think it's very good. Aaron Neesmith is the guy I like next.
What do you really think of Denny?
I don't want to talk about the Wizards. I want to get back.
Maybe we should talk about Isaac Okoro to the Cavs some more. What do you really think about that?
I want to get back to we have a strategy against the Wizards that I said, hack a Denny. That's all over now. Let's get back to Wendell Carter Jr. because this is a good divisive point between you, Mark, and Doug. I happen to believe that Wendell Carter Jr. is going to be a first-team All-NBA defense within the next 5 years. I think he's an elite defender. But it seems like other people feel that position and that can be found very easily. What's your ceiling on Wendell Carter Jr.? Let's start out with you, Doug, then we'll go to you, Mark.
I think he's going to be a good player. I think he's, like Mark alluded to earlier, I think he's maybe one of the guys who's been utilized less than he should be on offense. I think he's shown more in college of what he might be able to do. And so, I think he still has a lot of potential on that end. And I think he looked good defensively. And I think the injuries have hurt him. And one of the things people don't necessarily think about is after his rookie season, he got hurt like right in the offseason. And he was also missed his entire offseason that year. And so beyond not even being able to develop during his rookie year, he missed that offseason. And so then he played half of his sophomore year and got hurt again. And so he's not really had a lot of time to work on his game. And I think this will now be the first time where he's really gotten an extensive period of time to do that. And I think he was one of the most mismanaged players under Boylan. I don't generally use Boylan as an excuse for many guys, but I think he did mismanage Carter. So I think we're going to see him make the biggest jump of anyone on the roster. But I still think the ceiling is, we'll say, above average, but below all-star type of player.
What say you, Mark?
Yeah, look, I don't know if Wendell is a star, like an all-star or anything like that. I think he will be probably, a super high ceiling role player, let's say, which to me is obviously very valuable. You know what? In a lot of ways, like there are parallels between Patrick Williams to Wendell in the sense that I think foundationally, like they have just so many good skills that you want to have. They're obviously two-way players. You can just plug them in, and you're going to get a winning player essentially. That's how I feel about Wendell, and the way that I watch the playoffs this season, and specifically the way the league is going, I think clearly, this has been happening for a number of years, but that power forward position has almost transferred into a wing position, and you still need some rim protection. So there's the center position. I guess it really does still need that rim protection. So someone like Wendell, who in his rookie season and obviously sophomore season just showed his ability to guard out in space, but then quickly roll back and sort of protect the ring at the same time. To me, I think defensively his upside is huge. But again, coming back to what we watched in the playoffs, the passing from the center position, I think, is going to be just super critical going forward because, there's a lot of pick and roll sort of happening, obviously, in NBA. But that's a lot of where the offense is generated from. And beyond that, your initial ball screen is where it's all at. You try to get to the rim from that point of view. But if you're not doing that, then you're obviously setting up the three-point shot. But at times, when defenses are locking in, you need a release valve of sorts on that ball handler. So getting the ball to someone at the high post, a big that can facilitate the offense, can sort of move the ball from strong side to weak side to that 3-point shot on the weak side three. I think that playmaking from the 5 position is just super critical. And to me, Wendell's not a Jokic level passer, but he's maybe a Pau Gasol level passer. I think he ultimately can be. So I think there's scope to him being just, a fantastic two-way player. Is he a star? Probably not. A star role player? Yes, I think he can be that. So I just love Wendell. I think if it's not going to be in Chicago, then he's going to land on a team that plays him at center, and he's just going to be a star in that specific role. So I'm very in on Wendell.
Everything you need to know about Wendell Carter Jr. and how he was handled by this coaching staff was evident in his first game back after a long injury last year. First play of the game on the offensive end, they went down to Wendell Carter Jr. in the low post. There's no player I watched more video on in college than Wendell Carter Jr. when he came out. I don't recall one play where they put him in the low post with his back to the basket like it was 1989 and he was Patrick Ewing. He played the vast majority of his time in the high post, passing, great shooting ceiling. That's exactly what you get from Jim Boylan, some dope who wants to give Wendell a touch in a position he can't succeed in, a position he's not used to playing, which is back to the basket in the low post. That's not his game. So our dopey coach did not put Wendell Carter in position to succeed. And I think Billy Donovan will, and I think you're going to see a massive improvement from Wendell Carter Jr. this year, more so than any player on this team. And I'm glad he's still on the team, and him leaving would have been an absolute disgrace. Trading up 2 spots to get Wiseman, I think we're going to be much better for it, and I'm more excited about Wendell Carter Jr. than any player on this team besides Kobe White. Guys, we're almost at the end of the evening. The Suns will make their pick right now after this. We're going to wrap it up because it's been a long night. I need to soak my head, get a back rub, just figure out what's going on after the Coral went to Cleveland. This is the 10th pick goes to, and this is what I mean. Great point here. If you look at who made this point on the chat, where's this guy? Cranscape. I don't know about that name, but Cranscape, great point. Everyone picking at this range is no lose, really. It was the year to have one. What a great point, because right now at 10, who got picked? Oh, Jalen Smith. Holy cow. Halliburton's still out there. Yeah, I agree. I like Jalen Smith, though. I liked his game at Maryland. He's a big, can shoot the 3. We had an interesting debate on this guy, Doug. I don't know if you remember. You were far less high in him than I was.
I think my phrase was, why would you ever draft this guy?
something like that. That's the counter. But guys, am I nuts here? Halliburton is incredible value where he's going to be picked right now, right?
And, it doesn't surprise me so much that he slipped in the draft. And the things I said about Halliburton, leading up to the draft are probably the reasons why he's slipping, which is not a great athlete. He's skilled defensively, but not like an athletic beast defensively. And those guys don't translate to being as great defenders in the NBA as they are in college. And then his shot is he's got this weird low release. He's not going to be an off the dribble shooter, and he's not a good ball handler for a point guard. And so now you're like, well, he's a catch and shoot guy. His defense, I don't know how well it'll translate. Maybe okay, maybe not. Very good court vision guy, but without having the handle to be able to break guys down or the athleticism to get ahead of them, it's going to be hard for him to utilize his strengths. And so I think he's got a lot of good role player potential. But there's enough flaws there that are serious at the NBA level that, like all these guys, I can see why people be like, well, if I'm going to roll the dice, I'm going to roll the dice with someone who I feel has just more upside, more athleticism, that I feel if they can add a skill or two is going to be a star player. If I'm going to roll the dice, why am I going to roll the dice on a guy who, if it all works out, he's Malcolm Brogdon and he's a role player on my team, and even if he's maybe a little more likely to do that. But you get to in this range, just like 10 to 15 range, and all of a sudden a guy like that seems a lot more valuable. So I get why teams at the top, sometimes roll with these more athletic prospects and, hope that they can develop them into stars rather than someone who's maybe got a high skill ceiling, but, has some flaws that are maybe more difficult to fix.
What say you, Mark?
Yeah, look, I'm kind of happy that Halliburton is sliding, to be honest with you, because I think if he was taking, top 5, top 6 or something like that, then positionally from a draft point of view, he's going to be obviously clearly, a high pick that comes with high expectations. And a lot of these teams that he would sort of fall on, if he went 4, 5, 6, something like that, to everything, I agree with everything Doug noted. So that being that type of player that he is, then he would have just been put out of. It would have been uncomfortable for him, let's say. And I think it would have been not the best fit for him on a team like the Bulls, for example, or a team like, I don't know, whoever else is at Cleveland, let's say. He would have been asked to do too much because, based on the situation that he's in, I think he's more of a complementary piece. To me, he's almost like a bigger version of Monte Morris, who himself, like in Denver, is like a perfect backup point guard. So like someone like a bigger version of that where Halliburton can go to a better team if he keeps falling down and, start as a backup point guard and then eventually maybe mature into a starting point guard that complements a lead guard. I think that is ideal for someone like Halliburton. So I don't view this as a bad thing for him if he does continue to slide. I think that's good, and it would be better for his career, to be honest with you.
He's a perfect player for the Spurs and a long line of great draft picks.
Yeah,
I think it's hard. I think it's hard to measure leadership ability, and it's really hard. It's really difficult to get that, and nobody in this draft comes close from what I've heard. I've read a lot of interesting things on Halliburton. He definitely has that. Definitely has the work ethic. He's going to max his ceiling, whatever that is.
Great comment by Brandon. Bulls just nailing number 4 picks historically. Marcus Fizer, Eddie Curry, and Tyrese Thomas. It's a position that we just dominate in the draft at. So Patrick Williams, good luck to you, sir.
Yeah.
A strong tradition of number 4s.
My apologies to Cranscape also, but my name did not pass the Fred test. I'm just not a fan of cranberries. Never been a fan. I think it's the most overrated fruit. And I just think it's the whole thing.
How do you know that's what his name's based on?
Just assuming, I guess. I'm not really familiar with any other.
I'm waiting for a
landscape.
Stephen A list out of you now, like about your top 5 fruits, and cranberries just not being on there.
Strawberries is number 1. Number 2 is probably I think a grapefruit's underrated fruit. I'll come out with that list. We should have a draft of fruits.
Create a Twitter poll. It's the next Twitter poll.
I do want to say, guys, this has been a lot of fun. We're going to wrap up the show here. We got to thank our Steven Johnson for producing this. Great job. I think we're going to do this after many Bulls games this year. So I hope you guys are interested in following us. We're going to have, I think every one of the shows will have a special guest from Real GM or who follows me on Twitter, and we'll bring you in for 5 minutes to rant, talk about the team, talk about why did we take Williams ahead of Okoro, whatever you guys want to talk about. Would be great, I think, over the course of the year. What say you? You guys down with this? Mark, you want to do it? This would be fun.
Look, I'm more than willing, obviously. But if you're prepared to have me on, this was great. Shout out to Steve, and I think it is who produced this, and thank you to both of you for having me on. It was truly an honor to see you lose your mind like that, Fred. It was beautiful. It was exactly what I wanted. I didn't necessarily think it was going to be with Okoro. I'll imagine if Bulls took Denny and then you lost your mind and then Okoro went 5 like that.
Oh, that would have been it. I would have just slammed the computer through the window and then you guys could have carried on talking about the great Denny A. But, it didn't work out that way. I'm going to be an open mind. The fact is this team is on the ascendancy. There's a great red ball in the sky. Stare at it for a while and then go enjoy your dinner. What say you?
Well, that's just a beautiful thought. It's a beautiful thought.
What time is it out there, Mark? Are you in Australia? What time is it? Is it like out there?
Yeah, it's 1:12 p.m. So I've got the rest of my day to think about all these good things about Patrick Williams.
Yeah, so go out there, run around with a mask, and wait, just the last pick. Let's just see who the Spurs take. As I predicted, Devin Vassell.
Devin,
wow, nice.
Gosh, please not
pick.
Halliburton to Danny Ainge. That would really be a punch to the face that I couldn't take. Everybody, love you guys. Remember, 7 picking 17, 7 picking 18, 7 picking 19, 4th picking 20, 7 letters in a tourist, 7 letters in Michael, 7 letters in Scotty, AK for the 7s. God bless you all. Godspeed.
I have no idea what that meant, but
7 letters in Patrick.
Thanks, Steven. Have a good one, brother.
Thank you.